Hello, this is Dr. Harper. This video is a syllabus video in BUSN 6630, section E02, the online section, 8-week course, spring 2022, Management of Operations. So let's bring up the syllabus. So in the syllabus, I start with the course is active from Monday, March 14th to Saturday, May 14th. And I'll start right off with saying May 14th is the end of the course. Nothing is accepted after the end of the course. Start with the schedule outline here, and you can see here that the week is beginning on Monday, and every Monday I start a new topic. And as it turns out, the second week is going to be the spring break, nothing on that week. But I have a topic, and in that topic, here we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And on the topic, I'll have a quiz 1, a homework 1, and a memo 1. And the first 4 topics, I'll have a quiz, homework, and memo. But then topics 5 and 6, I only have quizzes, and that's all. Okay. But the quizzes are combinations of 2 subjects. Okay. Now, the whole idea of the quiz, it's not really a quiz. I use quiz because that's what Canvas uses. But quiz is really just a homework that's introductory, definitions, mechanics, and that's all it is. And then the homework, and that's why it's the second one a week later, there's where you take the mechanics and the definitions and you apply them in a business situation, in a business scenario. So there's where the learning happens in this course. And then the memo then is the communication. Then once you have an answer or get answers, then you communicate it. And you communicate it in just a memo assignment, in just a 1-page memo assignment. And we'll talk about that in this syllabus. Now the quizzes on 5 and 6 down here, these are just a little bit more than just mechanics. They go a little bit deeper on the applications, but these are more just introductory at the end of the course. The end of the course is Saturday, May 14th. Nothing considered after the end of the course. I'll emphasize that multiple times. After the end of the course grade will be reported to the registrar and not posted on Canvas. And here's the required text, and down here's grading. Now, grading is based solely on percentage of grade measure performance according to the table below. And what I mean by that is you have 6 quiz assignments, which are 10 points each, 4 homework assignments, 20 points each, 4 memo assignments, 20 points each, an exam and a project. Well, what I mean by solely on the percentage of grade measure performance is that whatever points you earn, you divide by the total possible points. That percentage then is compared over here on the left in a certain range, and there's where your letter grade will be assigned. And so there's no subjective or judgment in here. It's based all on points. And so there's no extra points with extra credit or anything. It's just on your performance on these measures over here. Now notice I have no plus minus grades. And I say there's no B plus, C minus, it's just A, B, C. Now I say that and people always ask me, are there plus minus grades? And I'll say again, no. When I say no plus minus grades, that's exactly what I mean. Okay, now the rounding is 0.5% up. In other words, 89.5% will be rounded up to 90% in A. 89 less than 89.5 is rounded down to 89, which is a B. Now that rounding convention I will use not only in grading, but also in all the assignments, on all of the exam and everything in this course. Okay, here's a summary. The quiz assignments will emphasize mechanics. The homework assignments will emphasize application of a problem-solving approach in a business environment. Memo assignments will emphasize communicating results in a business environment. The exam is designed for evaluations. I'll explain it down below. The project is designed to conduct independent research on a topic related to the course. I have video resources available online through Canvas. So all the links are in Canvas. And I'll show you where other videos are, but you can go beyond the course. Okay, there are synchronous physical office hours on Tuesday from 5 to 6 in the business school. And there's synchronous virtual office hours through Zoom, Tuesday, Thursday at 11 a.m., and the link will be in Canvas. Asynchronous communications between students is through something called Q&A, question and answer, which I mentioned in the welcome video, link in Canvas, which I'll show you that here in just a minute. Okay. Policies and procedures. So I'm not going to go through and read all of these, but I'll say what each of these sections are about. First of all, the policies and procedures in this syllabus will be followed in this course and apply to every student. I mentioned this up front. I'll mention it also at the end. Every student is applied equally. In taking this course, each student is responsible to know and adhere to the policies and procedures in the syllabus. And the reason I say that, in the past, people have said, oh, well, I didn't know that. It's in the syllabus. Well, I didn't read it. Well, just because you didn't read it doesn't mean it doesn't apply. Here's a course description. This is right out of the catalog. And then here is a course overview design. And what this says is the course contains multiple resources to be utilized at each student's discretion. Now, what I mean by this is you have a lot of helps, a lot of resources. It's up to you to decide how to use them, when to use them, where to use them. And so sometimes students will say, well, should I read this first or that? I said, that's up to you. You decide what works well for you based on your learning styles, learning objectives, availability, and needs. Resources include Word files, Excel files, and videos, and those will be links within Canvas. Okay, design also includes deliverable in the form of quizzes, homework, memos, exams, and project. Although each student is encouraged to utilize resources, each student is required to submit deliverables when due. In other words, asynchronously you can learn, but synchronously you have to have the submission of the assignments when they're due. They can't be late, so no late assignments are accepted. And no work is accepted or considered after the end of the course. And I actually say that up here. Over here I have the assignments due through Canvas, Sunday, 11:59 p.m., no late assignments accepted. And notice Sunday night at the end of that week is when they're due. Okay, so let's go on. And I talk about communications, primary communications through the Q&A. Okay, course material. First of all, we have a textbook that's required. And that's required because, again, you use that textbook according to your learning styles and the best way for you to use it. And so all of the material that I have, all of the assignments are based on the lectures and the video material, and the textbook can be used to support that. But you decide how and where and when and how much of each of those to use. And Canvas is also required because all homework, all assignments are downloaded through Canvas and uploaded through Canvas. So everything is through Canvas. Okay, although there are no prerequisites for this course, knowledge of mathematics, statistics, and Excel will be useful. Now, what I mean by that is I'm not going to go back and teach math or teach statistics or even teach Excel. But if you need help and you don't remember some of that stuff, I will help you through office hours and Q&A. I'll help you with that, but it's not part of the course. It's outside the course. Here's reading material in the required textbook, and I explain here what the FF means and following, the type of thing. So I have pages in the textbook that apply to this course. And this textbook, Heiser and Render, it's pretty much at the level, an introductory level that this course, the core course, is about. These are my objectives. It's a survey course. I survey three things: concepts, methods, and strategies. And concepts are understanding the idea around what you're doing. Methods are the actual techniques. And the strategies are why you're doing what you're doing. Okay? Commonly used in the management of operations. I'm approaching this in three ways, and you'll see this in different assignments. recognition of problems, application of techniques, communication of results. Now, those three are extremely important and key in business. One, recognizing what the problem is. You can't solve a problem if you don't know what it is. So, and these problems don't come at you like a textbook. They come at you in real life, and you have to actually recognize what it is, define it, and say that's what the problem is. Because in business, people solve the wrong problems because they don't recognize what the problem really is. And so they're solving something that's wrong. Second, application of techniques. Knowing what this technique does, how to apply it and apply it correctly. And finally, communication of results. It really has no benefit at all knowing what the answer is if you can't communicate it or use it. So just having an answer is not good in business. Actually having it and communicating it in such a way that that answer can be useful. That's the whole idea of communication. So communication is key in business. The approach of the material in this course will include a progressive, what I mean by progressive objectives, they build on each other, of a basic understanding of the underlying concepts, a proficiency in the tools, ability to formulate, evaluate, and critique strategies, experience in communicating results. So it just keeps building. That's what I mean by progressive or scaffolding or whatever you can call it, but it keeps building. This course should provide a student the capability to independently acquire a workable solution to commonly encountered operations problems, or to be an effective leader or contributor in a team effort dealing with operations issues. In other words, you can solve simple problems, but when they're bigger, you'll know enough to be a leader to get it done. Course management. This course contains reading material, online sources, quiz, homework, memos, etc. Again, the grace. Now, I've already said this above. I'm putting it in the syllabus, and I'm literally saying it in words, in text. The course grade is based solely on students' performance in the grade measures. Grades are not negotiated, no curves, no extra credit. Normal rounding conventions are used, and these are the normal rounding conventions. Now, right here, the quiz assignments, homework assignments, memo assignments will be available through Canvas and submitted through Canvas. Okay, and the quiz assignments, homework assignments, memo assignments are designed with different objectives. I've already mentioned them. I state them here again. No late assignments are accepted again. Communications. Communications during the course will primarily be through the Q&A answer links in Canvas. Use the Q&A, question and answer, on Canvas for discussions between students, for asking questions about the course material, answering questions about the course material, sharing information, or other collaborations helpful for learning, like asking what the next assignment is, or asking about a study group, or whatever you want to do. I will join the Q&A weekly and respond appropriately through the course. I will not work problems for you, but I'll show you how to do things, and that's what the videos are for. I show you how to do them. Although collaboration is encouraged throughout this course to learn the material, each student is required to submit original work. In other words, you collaborate to learn, and then you submit from your learning. You don't collaborate to get the answer without really knowing what you're doing. So you learn from the collaboration. But no collaboration is allowed on the exam. Only submit originally composed memos and the originally composed individual project report. Now, you can collaborate on the memos and the project report only in that you learn. You write your own memo, you write your own project. Okay, collaboration is encouraged throughout the project except for exam, composition of memos, and the final composition of projects. Okay. For this course, I will be available during the physical office hours. The listing is in Canvas. And during virtual Zoom office hours, the listing is in Canvas. Office hours are drop-in with no appointment needed. Just show up. Office hours information will be available on Canvas. Now, Canvas messaging or email, I want to emphasize this, and please listen, are less efficient and less reliable modes of communication. And what I mean by that, less efficient because sometimes the email doesn't get to me. It's less reliable. There are 3 Michael Harpers. There are 3 Mike Harpers in Canvas, or there used to, in UCD, and there used to be. There may be more now. I don't know. But there have been oftentimes people will email me and it'll go to some other person someplace else in the university. Emails are not very reliable and less efficient. Canvas messaging is less efficient because everything is together. Q&A, the question and answer, that is specific to this course, specific to your assignments, and specific to your students, and that is much more reliable because I will see that. And other students a lot of times can answer the questions. Take care to use these modes only when necessary. Communication concerning the course material will be directed to Q&A in Canvas. Should email be necessary for personal communications, use the email, there's my email, and include BUSN 6630 in the subject area. I teach multiple courses. Make sure you let me know what course you're in. Okay, now I say for personal communication, if you use email to ask questions about the material, I'll probably answer it, but I'll probably copy it and put it in the Q&A and say, this belongs here. It doesn't belong in email. Email is not for that. The Q&A is for material. Okay, let's go on. Okay, submission of the assignments, quiz and homework assignments. Quiz and homework assignments will be assigned and graded. Quiz assignments and homework assignments will be available on Canvas and submitted through Canvas. No late assignments are accepted. I want to emphasize that again. Answers will be posted after the due date. Another reason they're not accepted because they give you the answers. Now, make sure you read this paragraph very carefully. You are responsible to submit these things correctly. And errors are a problem. If it's after the due date, then I can't help you. You get a 0 if you don't submit it. Carefully follow the procedure. Download the questions from Canvas, which will be in a Word file. Obtain your answers for all the questions. You haven't submitted anything yet. Only when all the answers are ready to submit all the answers through Canvas at one time. You can't keep coming back. And you get all the answers, then you submit them all. Each student is responsible to submit answers through Canvas correctly, completely, and on time. Answers may be submitted only once. Assignments submitted will be accepted as an entire assignment and graded as an entire assignment. In other words, you can't submit half of it and come back and expect to submit the other half later. Once you begin submission, you have only 60 minutes to submit all the answers to an assignment, only if the answers are submitted on or before the due date and time for the assignment. The due date and time are strictly enforced by Canvas. Canvas will not allow submission after the due date and time, even during the 60-minute window. So this sentence is very important. Make sure you submit and say submit before that 11:59 on Sunday night. Because once that comes, it doesn't matter if it closes. Canvas closes everything, and if you are open, it'll submit it for you. It'll submit it, whether you want to or not. So there's 3 ways to submit it. Submit it before, okay, during the 60-minute window. Open the 60-minute window before the 11:59 deadline. It'll submit it for you. Or 3, you won't submit it so at all after that deadline. The entire assignment must be submitted on or before the due date and time indicated. No late assignments are accepted. Assignments not submitted have a grade of 0. The answers to quiz and homework assignments will be posted online. No partial credit. Okay. Now, I do say this at the end of the syllabus. I'll mention it here. It has to be submitted on or before the due date and time. And time when it's due. Now, Canvas is the primary way of submitting it. But sometimes Canvas is down, sometimes you can't do it. But if you email it to me or somehow get that to me somehow, one way or the other, before the due date and time, I will accept it if I can have it, if it's date and time stamped. I'll accept it, but I will not accept it after the due date and time. Okay, the common running procedure should be followed. Any grading errors should be resolved as soon as possible. No corrections to material will be graded after the end of the course. Collaboration is encouraged, but you do your own work. Okay. Now, the memo assignments. The memo assignments are small case studies. I will make available an assignment memo that will initiate work from each student. Now, from the assignment memo, each memo assignment requires 2 submissions from you. So I generate these assignment memos. You generate 2 memos, and that is a response memo and a technical memo, and each memo is limited to 1 page. Submit both memos in 1 PDF file. So right here, let me emphasize that you have a response memo on 1 page, a technical memo on 1 page. You submit those 2 pages in 1 PDF file. Now, if you go more than a page, I'll count off. If you don't do that, you're going to be counted off. That's the first thing I say, limited to 1 page. Design, and I talk about the design the response memo for the business environment. Now what that means is in each of these assignment memos, and I'll give you a video on explaining it, each of these assignment memos, a client wants to do something, and you need to work a problem, and you're telling this to a business professional, a business client. You're not telling it to me. You're not telling it to your colleagues. You're telling it to a business professional. If they say, the first one, they want to know what the forecasts are. So, oh, here are the forecasts, and you tell them what they are. Now, what people will do is say, oh, here's how I calculated the forecast. They don't want to know that. They didn't say, please tell me how you calculate forecast. They says, give me the forecast. Could you please give me forecast? So you give them the forecast. So you don't tell them what they don't ask for. So you have to be really careful with the response memos. They are for a business environment because this is a business course. That effectively communicates a professional response to the party requesting the work and assignment memo. The response memo guidelines include succinct but adequate, as well as originally composed, professionally prepared, and following a common format. And down the common format is below, and I'll go over that too. The complete response memo must be limited to 1 page. It cannot go more than 1 page. It has to be totally self-contained in that page. Now the technical memo is different. Design the technical memo to outline the details of the approach and the quantitative methods utilized in obtaining the results presented in the response memo. These memos are separate. The response memo then says, this is what you need to know to the client. The technical memo says, this is an internal document that says, here's how I did that. And here's how you explain your approach, the methodology, the equations on how you did it. It's a technical memo. Sometimes people said, oh, I use math. That's not technical enough. You have to say what math you used and how you did it. Okay? And the technical memo shall contain enough detail to support, describe, and adequately generate the technical portion of the response memo. The technical memo guidelines include succinct but adequate, as well as originally composed, professionally prepared, and following a common format. The complete technical memo must be limited to 1 page. Now, each of those memos must be self-contained. In other words, don't refer to, in the response memo, don't refer to the technical memos because the client doesn't see your technical memo. It's 2 different places. They must be self-contained, must be complete. Everything you want to say is in that memo. Don't refer to something else. Descriptive, and in other words, it's a memo. I don't want a page full of numbers. That's not a memo. That's not descriptive. Or just equations. That's not descriptive. You describe what's happened. It must be succinct. Shorter is better, but it must be adequate and limited to 1 page. Generally, a self-contained memo would not reference material in the other memo. For example, a complete memo would contain all the content to adequately achieve its objective. In other words, don't leave anything out. A descriptive memo would contain a presentation that has literary competency. In other words, it's not just, here's my graph, or here's the numbers, or here's a table. No, you actually, you describe it. It's an actual memo. And succinct would not contain superfluous or inappropriate material. Always be succinct in business. Only say what needs to be said, say it, and then stop talking. Okay. The composition of the memo should reflect their different audiences, objectives, scenarios, as defined in the assignment memo. Although the response and technical memos are self-contained, they must correspond. What I mean by that, you don't reference, but you correspond. In other words, in the response memo, if you say these numbers, the technical memo should correspond to say, here's how I got those numbers in the response memo. Any item in the response memo must be supported in the technical memo, and if it doesn't, I'll count off. Consider the response memo an external document, external communication document designed for the business environment, and the technical memo an internal support document for internal review and support for the response memo. The response memo must be no more than 1 page in length, or else I'll count off. The technical memo must be no more than 1 page in length. If it's more, I'll count off. Both memos must be submitted together in one PDF file. Submit only 2 pages. No titles, no attachments, no appendices. Submit through Canvas. Both memos are required to be composed in a required to be composed in a professional manner, adhering to the common format. Now, the format is required. 1. You have a title up here. Response memo 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay. Technical memo 1, 2, 3, 4. And if that's not there, I will count off because it's required. The header information. Date to from subject. Date to from subject. If it's not there, I'll count off because it's required. So the first 5 lines should be that. And then the content is you put your content, that 1-page content in there for your memos. I will be grading on memo format and content that contains technical accuracy, adequate answers based on the client's requests, and an appropriate response within the scenario presented. However, each student's judgment of content and composition should reflect their knowledge, personality, and communication style, but each memo must be original and should exhibit professional quality and value. Okay, again, collaboration is encouraged to aid in the learning of the material, but not required. Most importantly, and I want to emphasize, collaboration should be limited to the calculations, analysis, and understanding of the content of the memo assignment, but not the creation or composition of the response or technical memo. Each student is required to do their own writing, composition, production, and submit originally composed work. Now, that doesn't mean you can't use the same graphs, but what that means is that you should compose and produce and submit a memo that you put together. No one put it together for you, especially the writing. Essentially, the same response or technical memo submitted by 2 or more students will receive a 0 and would be considered a violation of academic dishonesty standards. Academic dishonesty is cheating, and the incident may also be reported to the business school or UCD for further action. Do not assist another student in allowing them to see a copy of your written work. Academic dishonesty includes copying from another student or allowing a student to copy from your work in part or in whole. So that's dishonesty. The purpose of the memo assignment are to test your understanding of the techniques, your ability to correctly apply the methods presented in a business context, and your ability to communicate these concepts in a business environment. If you can't communicate them, you probably don't understand what they mean. Okay, the exam will be given in this course for evaluation. What I mean by design for evaluation is that the quiz and the homework and the memos, the quiz and the homework are designed for learning. The memos are designed for communication. The exam is designed for evaluation. In other words, I don't want to ask you things you don't know. I want to evaluate what you do know. I will give you a study guide. I'll say, here are the questions I'm going to be asking you. Here's the area. Here's what I'm not going to ask you. Come in prepared. It's online. It's open book, open notes. It's timed. And it'll be all multiple choice. And so I'm just going to focus on validating that you do know this material. you can understand the question, go find the answers, and so this is all going to be online. An exam study guide will be available to prepare for the exam. The exam may be taken only once. The exam will be multiple choice, open book, open notes, and timed. No collaboration is allowed. Collaboration is just cheating. No communication devices such as phones are allowed. Do the work yourself. No sharing of material or equipment is allowed. Each student must take their own exam with no outside help other than material from the course. If academic dishonesty occurs on the exam, the student will receive a 0 for the exam. Any incident of academic dishonesty may be reported to the Internal Affairs Committee of the Business School or UCD for further action. No exam will result in a 0 for the exam. If you don't take it, you get a 0. No work accepted after the end of the course. Okay, the exam will be online through Canvas. The exam must be taken before the end of the course. Answers to the online exam will not be open until after the end of the course, because you can take the exam up to the end. So I won't post answers till after the end. Then the projects. Each student is required to conduct independent research on a topic based on material related to the course. The deliverables for each student are an individual report and an individual presentation. Each student must have a different project, and project instructions will be provided during the course. More detail later. The project grade for each student will be 10% on the presentation, 90% on the individual report. Okay, the original composed individual report shall demonstrate a student's knowledge of the research and an ability to effectively communicate the knowledge appropriate to a business professional. Each individual report must be unique. The length of the report should be more than 2 pages and follow guidelines of succinct but adequate. In others, I really don't want 10, 15, 20 pages coming in. 2, 3, 4 pages are usually what I get, and that's all you need just to outline and to report on what you've learned. The length must be enough to adequately represent your work. Length can be considered a negative if too long, and content is not significant. Okay, submit the completed individual report only through Canvas as a PDF file again, on or before the due date and time. Each report may only be submitted once, may only be submitted as a complete report, and must be submitted by the due date and time. A report not submitted has a grade of 0. No late reports are accepted. Each student is required to submit original material for their individual report. Although collaboration is encouraged to conduct research, collaboration does not include copying from another student or allowing a student to copy from you on individual work that is submitted. Now, submit your work through Canvas as a PDF file. Do not use a cover page, but use this title. You have your own title up here. You have the individual report here by your name, your date, and then here's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 lines, and then you start your report. So no cover page, just those 6 lines, and then you start your report. Now the project presentations will be an MP4 video submitted online through Canvas. The project presentations are presentations of a summary of each student's research contained in the individual report. Each person is required to present. Each person will be limited to approximately 2 minutes of presentation time. So don't go on and on. For each individual presentation, do not read your report or cover detail in your report, but present a general overview of the significant findings from your report. The individual report contains detail, but the presentation contains significant findings. Communicate content appropriate to the objectives expected within each mode of communication. In other words, the reports are the detail, and then the presentation is an overview or just the important points. Okay, finally, general important information. Assignments consist of quizzes, quiz assignments, homework assignments, memo assignments, a project. All assignments are submitted through Canvas. Only under special circumstances, assignments accepted by other channels of communication will be accepted if accompanied by a justifiable date time stamp. Okay, what I mean by that is this. The primary mode of submission is Canvas. Submit through Canvas. But sometimes Canvas is down. Sometimes you can't get onto it. There's a problem. If there's a problem, then you can submit through other channels of communication, like an email or something. If I get it and it's date and time stamped, if it's submitted on time, I will accept it, even if it's through email or something. So go ahead and get it to me somehow, if it's date and time stamped for me to see that. But if it's after that date and time, it doesn't matter. I won't accept it because no late assignments are accepted. Late assignments are not accepted. Each assignment is not received when due has a grade of 0. Grades will be posted online during the course, but the final course grades are submitted through the registrar and not on Canvas. No corrections to the grade will be considered after the end of the course. Okay, the end of the course, nothing will be considered at the end of the course. Again, I just have its own box there to emphasize that. The course is the end of the course, no incomplete grades. Again, academic dishonesty is important to not do. In the event academic dishonesty occurs on assignment or exam, the work will receive a grade of 0. Any incident of academic dishonesty may be reported to the Internal Affairs Committee of the Business School or UCD for further action. Now here's a bunch of links for the conduct. This first link is the catalog code of conduct, and this is for students, faculty, staff, administration, guests, visitors, anybody and everybody. The next one is human resources. There's a lot of good information there on human resources, on policies that govern the university. And here's FERPA. And in FERPA, the Family Education Rights and Privacy Act, here's a link to that. I will adhere to that. Part of FERPA says nobody can see your information, your grades, your material, and except you. In other words, if a family member calls or someone calls or an employer calls and say, can I see his grade or what he did? I'll say no at a FERPA. You can give it to him. I will not. And people can't see your grades. Only you can see your grade. And so I'll be other advisors can if they have a need to know, but other than that, they can't. Now, any current or potential indications of violations of verbal or physical disruption or intimidation on campus or anywhere can be reported to the CARE team, the Campus Assessment, Response, and Evaluation CARE team. This link you can report. Anybody can report. And what this means is if you see something going on, either that has happened, that will happen, or might happen, then just report this. They're going to go and evaluate, assess, and see what's going on. Maybe help to disengage things that might be negative things that are going to happen. Also, any verbal or physical incidents of violent or disruptive behavior can be reported to the Internal Affairs Committee of the Business School or UCD, in the classroom, even virtually. Conduct also includes etiquette that is respectful to all people, facilities, and the institution. I want to emphasize the word respectful. It's all about respect. Respecting, I respect why you're here, you respect why I'm here, everybody respects why we're here. And the reason we're here is education. We want to learn as much as we can. We need an environment that supports that learning. And you have to be free to ask questions and to learn, make mistakes, be corrected, and move forward. We are an environment here to learn. Commitment expectations. Taking this course represents your commitment to perform the work when due. Faculty policies have stated that classes in the business school should require of their students a workload in and out of class that enhances quality education and is consistent with the amount of academic credit granted for a course. This course requires work due on a regular basis, and the reason I have this in here, we're asked to put this in here, because some students say, I didn't know I had to do that much work. And some students say, I didn't know I had to do any work. Yeah, there's work you're going to have to do outside of class. This course requires work in class and outside of class. No incomplete grades are given. I never have. I will not. Statement. The last statement. Policies in this syllabus apply to each student equally. I started with that. I'm ending with that. Each student equally. It's going to be applied to everyone across the board. I will not change these policies for different people for different rules. However, I will consider special circumstances. But in doing so, the standards will never be compromised, and all work must be completed during the course. Now, what I mean by that, I've already mentioned it before. The requirements are submitted through Canvas, but if you can't, then submit it through through email, let's say, and submit a PDF through email. Well, see, that's not really the right procedure, but that's a special circumstance. If you have to do it, then you have to do it. But the standards will not be compromised. You have to submit it. It has to be yours. It has to be done before the due date and time. Those standards will not be compromised. And you have to submit the work when due during the course. And any action taken by me that might be taken as varying from these policies shall not be a cause to eliminate or alter any student's responsibility to adhere to all the requirements of their course or to prevent my action in enforcing the policies in the course to every student. Now, what I mean by that statement is this. Suppose someone is in the hospital and say, oh, sure, you can submit it a little bit early, that's fine, or I can send this to you so you can submit it from your laptop. But all the standards are met. Everything is met, but I have allowed them to do it a little bit earlier. Okay, they're going on travel, so I open it up a little bit early for everybody so they can do that. Well, just because I do that, that doesn't mean it's policy. That means it's special circumstances. And I won't, it says, oh, well, if you're doing it for them, you have to do it for everyone. I could, but I don't have to, as long as I don't violate any standards within the course. And I will not. Now, this is the end of the syllabus, my syllabus. But there's more. Faculty have been required to include the following information in their syllabus. Instead of trying to include it and trying to find out where I need to put it, I include the wording provided to faculty for your information. This is what they gave me, so I'm just putting it in my syllabus. Okay. Now, you can read this at your leisure. The Code of Conduct, I've already done that, okay? But they go into, here's the definition of plagiarism, here's the definition of cheating, here's fabrication, falsification, misuse of academic materials, etc. So they go into a lot more detail than I do, so there it is. Disability access. I didn't cover that, but that's certainly part of the university as far as disability services. And so that's going to be accommodated as much as we can. And these will help us do that. Non-discrimination and sexual misconduct from Title IX. This is stated, which is important. And here's a link to it. I will certainly follow these things. I don't necessarily state the Title IX text, but there it is, okay? Statement on pronouns and preferred names. I don't know what your preferred name is and pronoun, and if I do make a mistake, I'm sorry. It's not intentional. You can tell me how you want to be called, and I will call you by however you want to be called. But if I make a mistake, it's just out of ignorance. I don't know, and I apologize beforehand. And I respect people, and I want to give you the respect you deserve so you can learn. We're here for learning. Diversity and inclusion. And this is kind of interesting. This was given by Dr. Brenda Allen, and we put it in here. And this is her words. And I understand where she's coming from. I don't totally understand. I don't really support exactly how she says it. But I understand what she means. And I support totally what she means. But I don't really agree exactly how she says it. It says, you belong here, as do your classmates. You belong here if you had great teachers, positive experiences. You belong here. And they start going through here. You belong here if you are all these different religions. Okay? And LGBTQ and everything. And I wouldn't, I understand what she means, and I agree with the meaning, but the way I would say it very differently. You don't belong here just because you're those things. You belong here if you want to learn. And it doesn't matter what your background or your any of that stuff. That doesn't matter to me. If you're here to learn, I will teach you as best I can, regardless of your religion or your sexual or how you want to be called, your sexual preference. It doesn't matter to me. Well, that's not going to change how I teach. I'm going to teach everyone equally and teach everyone as best I can. If you want to learn, you should be here, regardless of where you came from or what other types of extenuating circumstances or factors you might think you shouldn't be here. That's not true. If you want to learn, you come to me and I'll teach you. That's what I'm here for. Okay, and then the next is the student counseling. And these are resources. If you need counseling center, use them. They're resources for you to use. So don't be shy. Go ahead and use them as best you can because they're there for your use. Campus assessment and the care team. I even gave you the link, and I've already mentioned that above. Another interesting little thing they want us to put in here: land acknowledgement. Acknowledging that we reside in the homelands of indigenous people is an important step in recognizing the history and the original stewards of these lands. Land acknowledgement must extend far, etc., etc. And this is from Gracie Redshirt Tyan, Director of the American Indian Student Services. And again, I understand what she means by that, and I certainly do respect that and support the concept, but I wouldn't say it exactly that way. It's the land for indigenous people. I'll tell you, the land is more than just land. It's part of their identity. And so I think what's more important here is just respecting different cultures and respecting different peoples and the respect of the value of all peoples, all cultures. Respect the value of them. And I'm sure that's what she's getting at, and what she says is very good, but it's more than just the land. It's about the culture, because the land represents to a Native American, it represents more than just land. It's part of their culture. Important dates to remember down here. This link we'll have in the academic calendar. So this is what they've asked us to put in here, so I certainly put this in here. This is really the syllabus, and this is a lot of information and on how the course is managed, organized, designed, in detail. And so remember where these things are and review this from time to time, because every student is required to know and submit things accordingly. So that's the video for the syllabus for this course. I hope this helps. Take care.